Hey, David. Hey, Dad, how's it going? Thanks for dropping in. We're going to start off with some roe deer hair for the tail. We're using 6-aught? Yeah. Let's see if I can get this up with the camera. Come on. Using 6-aught uni thread black. I think for the next set of these I'll switch to 8-aught. Decided to go with the 6-aught to give a little more oomph on tying down the deer hair, but I think I can do it fine with the 6-aught. And we're just going to grab some of that nice chestnut brown there. We'll be using the white on the corner there for the underwing. And we're just going to remove all that underfur. The underfur on this batch is a lot stiffer than... It's got that stiff kind of dirty look to it, kind of like hare's ear mask. Part of me's wanting to put this off to the side and make some nice dirty dubbing out of it. Okay, and we're going to end up stacking this. Where'd my stacker go? There we are. We're going to end up stacking this just to even the tails up a bit. I'm going to use this old school German trough stacker. A little bit different than your traditional hair stacker, but it works great for short stubby stuff where you're not looking for an exact match and you're just nubbing them down a bit. Just like that. Just grab them out. Ain't good enough. Hey, Waz, how's it going, mate? Yeah, we're doing weight. Thanks for hanging out, David. Missed bumping into you in all the chats there. Haven't been in Brian's stream in a bit. Know you've been hanging out there. He was too. Should have probably cleared that out after I stacked it, but there's some loose stuff in the back. It's all gonna get clipped off anyway, so it's all good. I'm bring that up to just behind the point and then back. And I'm making the tails on these extra floofy. You're welcome to probably half that. I'm gonna set my scissors down. Found him. Put the deer hair on top of him. I was like, where'd my scissors go? I was going crazy there for a second. I was like, I know I just had those in my hand. Just cut that off on a bit of an angle. Should have actually probably cut that ahead just a hair, just to give it a better body taper, but we'll just tie in our front material up a bit. And we're going to use some of this absolutely gorgeous, it's like a root beer, reddish root beer kind of brown floss. I'm really enjoying this stuff. Fairly vintage, I want to say by the manufacturer, it's probably early 80s or 70s. We're just going to tie that in on our side here. Take me a sec to get used to this thicker thread. I'm used to tying with the 6/0. Or 8/0, I mean, sorry, this is 6. Yeah, we're just going to use cardstock 26. Which is an acrylic yarn. This is 100% acrylic. You can use wool. I do have some wool. Hey, thanks Flybox. Thanks for the sub. Appreciate that, mate. You can use wool, you can use dubbing for the body. Wherever you got kicking around is fine. This acrylic's going to chill out quite a bit when it gets wet, and the body will be more of a almost Adam's gray once the black thread shows through. I'm just gonna smooth the body out a little bit right here where we cut the deer hair back a hair. Just to give us a little better transition there. Crossing over the dark side. Ah, cool. I love tying Adam's flies, man. I really do. I got, what do I got here? Here's a whole cork full of them for you. These are your traditional muskrat dubbed up Adams. I got lots of like fine gray dubbing, the synthetic stuff, but muskrat's where it's at. Just gonna throw a couple half hitches in the front there. I hope you have fun with the Adams patterns, because I sure enjoy them. Super classic, easy. Well, not easy. There's lots of little nuances to them, but easy enough. Really good pattern to practice dry flies. Thanks, he was. The other nice thing about doing up Adam's patterns there, David, is they incorporate a good amount of different techniques that you can pull over to a lot of other classic dry fly patterns. Everything from the tail to the dubbing to the wings on it, like it's all in there, so be a great pattern for you to practice on smaller flies with. Yeah, the good thing is you make any mistakes, it's such a simple, classic, tested pattern that it's still going to work. You really can't mess it up too bad. Nice, I got the body wrapped up. It's even enough for me. Pulled my hook down here. Let's just straighten that. There we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to back wrap, but I'm going to go about twice as much as I normally would, so I'm leaving a space between each wrap. I'm going to go right to about the third mark. I'm going to go backwards, and I'm going to fill in those gaps that we made on the first round. There, and that'll give us just a slight taper there. Not necessary at all, but these type of bugs have a bulge in their thorax there, right where the wing case would be. So it just helps to give you a better imitation of that. Not necessary. And if you're dubbing, of course, you just make your dubbing a little bit thicker in that spot and you'll be golden. I'm tying off my materials on the top here because we're going to be putting in the bucktail on the top. Or in this case, I'm using the roe deer hair, but traditionally this would be tied with bucktail. But these ones are smaller, and I'd be wasting a whole lot of bucktail just cutting that off. So we're using the roe deer. As I almost knock it right out of my vise. Crap. At least I didn't snag my finger on the hook. Okay, settle down. Hey Journey, thanks for dropping in. That's how you know it's live and not recorded. Forgot what I was reaching for there. Okay, so we're just going to throw a half hitch in here. I'm going to reset this hook because I think I bumped it a little too hard there. Good enough. Now I'm just going to throw in 2 half hitches so I can use the rotary function again. And I'm leaving about roughly a bobbin width for the head area there so we have room for our overwing, underwing, and hackle. Let's pop that up in the bobbin holder. Come on, behave. There we go. And I'm just going to be twisting up the floss a little bit, so we basically are using a cord. And you can use anything you like for the rib here. You got some brown thread, that'll work fine. And we're just going to be counter wrapping the body here. That worked out okay. And of course, because fish are super good counters, you got to make sure you get 5 wraps on there, or they won't eat your hook. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 and a half. We'll say 5. We're good. Man, I really knocked you out of the vise there, didn't I, poor thing? Okay, we don't need a heavy underwing, we're just going for a white shuck. Sorry, I didn't cut that up by the camera. Yay thick. It's about half what I got on the tail there. Just gonna clean it out over my trash. This stuff is sticking all over my shirt and getting everywhere, but that's deer hair for you. It's not as staticky as it could be, that's for sure. It could be a lot worse. I'm not going to bother stacking this one. It looks like it's a good length. If they get too crazy on you, again, it's just the underwing. So this one's got a few longer fibers, but we want to have it just a little bit off the end of the tail there, so it's a little bit on the shorter side than the overwing. So let me move up my thread here. I'm just going to do a bit of a pinch wrap kind of deal to stop it from spinning. Get 3 in there to hold it in, and we'll just adjust it if need be. Make sure it's on top. Yeah, looks good. Yeah, it did slide ahead a hair more than I wanted it to, but I think we'll be good. I'm just gonna get a couple wraps behind where I wanted. That's better. There you go. I got that nice white shuck underwing. Normally I cut this off with the overwing on top. I'm just going to do it ahead of time here. We'll bind that all down. Alright, so for the overwing we're just going to do the same thing. Oop, lost my bag. There we go. Yeah, we're going to do the same thing with this nice chestnut color. Let's see if we get lucky. I might not have to stack this one. So we're going to be doing about that much. Roughly about the same as what I put on tail. And cleaning out all the fuzz. Hey, welcome back. Hopefully you got to ship off all your flies you were talking about. Okay, and for the overwing, we're just going to go a little bit farther back than we did for the underwing. And that's going to bring us right to the tip of the tail. So we'll say that'll do it. I think it rolled on me a hair there, but I think we saved it. Yeah, that looks okay. Two more wraps secure it. We good? Yeah, we look good. Just adjust it a little bit. There we go. That's what the fish is going to end up seeing anyway. They're going to see that white sticking out. Okay, we're just going to trim that off on an angle and bind it down. And you want to bring it up to your close to where you're going to be making your head, where you're going to start your angle off. That way it'll give you this part in here is going to be where we're going to be wrapping the hackle. And if you cut it off too close back, you're going to end up with a step there. And your hackle is going to be constantly tripping up and falling over, and super annoying. So give yourself some room there. You don't need a lot. Bobbin width is perfectly fine because we're only doing about 3 or 4 wraps hackle. So that'll work fine. These guys also have a fairly large shiny black head on them when they're at this stage. And what we're going to do is just lightly wrap from our back point here to the front. But we're then going to do most of our tension wrapping from where our head is the opposite direction. And that'll help to bind it down and stop it from creating that step, which will just fight you the whole time. So, there you go. You can see we got that nice, very, very slight angle. Preferably you'd want to have almost a flat spot and then your angle down before you're wrapping it, but this will be perfectly fine. Here's a tip for you, David, if you're doing Adams and stuff, when you're having trouble with any of the hackles coming out, because you're going to get that, especially when you're learning dry flies and trying to get a neat head on it, you're always going to have the odd, hackle hair. Like I got just a little bit sticking out there, which we're going to bury anyway. But if they were a bit longer and you've trimmed them off or you've singed them back, just get a Sharpie and just hit it up, and they just disappear. And it's that simple. Instead of trying to fuss with it and accidentally cutting your thread, which will happen when you don't want it to, that's so much easier, and it'll just make those any fibers you have that are just a little bit off, and it's so much quicker and less stressful than trying to mess with those things. Alright, so we got our underwing, got our overwing. My side of the fly generally always looks better because that's what I'm looking at. I do try to work on that, but once this gets wet and it's had a few casts, it'll look the same. There we go. So we got our underwing, overwing. Now we're going to do our hackle. And for these, I like a soft. These are they're a rooster hackle, but they're almost like a hand hackle. They're real soft fiber. It's still got that rooster sheen to it. Not sure if it'll pick up on the camera. Yeah, there you go. Still got that rooster sheen and firmness up top. But when these guys get to the later stage in their lifespan, the legs are very kind of flimsy and spent and look almost like kind of like a daddy long legs kind of deal. So we're going to trim that off, clean up our rachis there, and then I'm going to cut the rachis off so we leave a little stub. Then I'm going to cut back on the maybe about 3 or 4 barbs into it, and I'm not going to make a super close cut because what we're doing there is we're creating almost like a Velcro effect. So when the thread goes in, you can see it's, I wonder if it'll show better on my finger. Maybe not, maybe my beard. There you go. You can see how I've left just a little bit there, and that'll stop it from pulling out. That'll help you on the Adams stuff too there, David. Especially if you're getting into the higher quality yeah, I just read your comment there. Sorry, my chat's up on the other side of me, so I gotta lean over to read it. But yeah, I mean, just using the Sharpie marker and just hitting up all your mistakes with a Sharpie, it's all in your head anyway, mate. Like, whoop, and of course I drop it right in my trash can. Oh, great. Okay. This one's a little bit damaged. You see it's missing a few right there, but I think we'll be fine. Would have been better if you do have damage on a feather like this. It's always better if it's on the upper side from where you're tying in, because that'll be what's wrapping. Your main side that's showing is going to be the underside of your wrap. So would have been nice if it was that way, but it's not. So we'll just deal with what we got. I'm going to be tying it on my side of the hook here, right into those bits that are coming out. We'll just get rid of that step there. Now I'm going to bring my thread up again, just basically a bobbin width, so I got room to make a head. The head's pretty much there already, but want to be a bit up. That's where we're going to finish off our hackle at. And I'll do my half hitches there as a save point. But yeah, David, if you're practicing Adams, that'll be a good thing for you to do. And if you're clipping the hackle, because I'm assuming you probably got some decent quality hackle from Brian, I would assume. The better quality, not that this is bad quality hackle, it's just is what it is. This is just your traditional red farm chicken. But the major difference with this and like genetic hackle is the barbular count and the strength and the just thickness of the barbs. These are much more softer. The rachis is quite a bit thicker. But when you strip off the higher quality genetic hackle, the rachis is super slick compared to, you know, your regular farm chicken hackle. And leaving that little bit of barbs on there when you cut it off will help. Like, you'll think you'll have it tied in and you'll give it a tug and it'll just come right out. The other thing you can do is you can tie it forward, bend it, tie it back, so you got a 90, and that can help too. But yeah, if you play around with some cheap hackle and some good hackle, you'll find the good stuff's generally a lot slicker. Wax thread will help too, as well. Alright, so we got our hackle tied in. I'm just going to bend it 90 to the hook here. And we'll have a look and see where we're sitting. There we go. I'll try my other Hackle pliers here. I love my little Hackle pliers, but they're just not gripping like they used to. I think I might do something like this, just put a little piece of rubber on them. So after thousands of flies, they've starting to give out. I've tried to roughen them up with a file, and that worked, but it almost made a different problem where I ended up with sharp spots on it, and it was actually cutting my rachis, and I was like, eh. For this one, I'm going to be hackling this a little bit. Seriously. Okay, let's do that again. I'm going to be hackling this a little bit on the thinner side compared to if I was doing something like an Adams. I'm going to be leaving basically like a rachis width in between my wraps. Again, because it's a little bit over, a little bit more than I wanted. There we go. What this is imitating has a very dark thorax head area to it, so we want a little bit of that thread to be showing through. And also, like I said before, they have very thin legs. And these are also generally, because of that, they don't surface sit all that much, so these would be fished basically you'd cast them out as you would a dry fly, surface sit them, and then pull them through the film. I have them just under the surface or struggling. So we don't necessarily want a super poofy dry fly, traditional dry fly hackle on there. Well, that boat broke at a convenient time. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 3 to 5, I'd say. It really depends on your barb count on the hackle you're using. If you got a higher barb count, just cut a bit more, and where you're wrapping in. Yeah, 3 to 5, probably perfectly fine. And yeah, they just act like basically like Velcro, like little hooks to help the thread bite into it. My hackle did break on me at the last bit there, but it was already tied in, so it's good. But you can see I got a few barbulars sticking out front here, and that's kind of what I was talking about to David there with the Adams. That'll happen when you're learning to tie it. That's mainly just because it broke on me. But one other trick you can do here is use your half hitch tool. I was going to do some half hitch anyway, so it's convenient. Bring it up, and I got a double spin on the half hitch there. Not sure if this will pick up on the camera. You can see I'm pushing it back. And then I'll drop the half hitch right on top, and that'll, if it's going to behave, that'll pull it away from the head there, and either allow you to clip it off, or you can just continue to wrap it back when you're doing your whip finish or making your head. Got one. No, that one's back there. One second. So instead of being super frustrated with it and trying to, I'll do one more to push it back. Instead of being super frustrated trying to cut them out or burn them off, and then you end up losing your thread anyway, that's a much easier way to get them to push back a bit. And as I'm saying that, they're not cooperating 100%, but of course not. Why would they? We'll just cut them off like we're saying. grab our Sharpie and just nick any ends. And you'd never know they were there. But yeah, when I was learning to do hackles, I'd get so frustrated with stray hackle hairs. It's a battle. Yeah, the main point is you want to be having fun while you're tying, right? You don't want all this frustration over something that's, in the end, is really just in your head. No one else, unless people are buying your flies, I guess. The fish or anyone else aren't going to ever know that that one little hackle fiber was there. So... And every time you overcome one of those little obstacles like that, you just get to be a slightly better tyer. They're all like little challenges that you have to overcome. Because we're working with natural materials, so every single fly you tie is different from the last one. Every feather is different, every chunk of fur is different. That's part of the challenge, is trying to get them to look uniform. I've been tying so many flies with 8/0 and switching to the 6/0 feels like I'm tying with a rope. It's not, I know it's not that much thicker, but I'm definitely having to watch my thread count. But I'm happy with it. I mean, it's working fine. I know 8's like really common for most people. Or I mean 6 is really common. 6 would be, what denier would that be? 136. So 130-ish. Well, I got this out actually. One other tip I can give you, honestly, I think Luca actually commented on it that he's pretty sure I'm the only one that does this. This is definitely an old school trick that one of my mentors taught me for fly tying head cement. You take might be hard to see on here, but all it is a larger pin, and I bent the head over on it, and then jammed it in the lid of my head cement. So that way it's always in your head cement, it's always wet, and you don't get goobers all over the end of it like you do with the little squirt bottles. Those work fine, you know, but everyone knows, like, after a while, or even if you're using the UV, the adapter just gets absolutely nasty, even if you're really trying to keep it smooth. So this way your adapter's always clean. I mean, I've done thousands of flies with this one, and it looks just like it did. I put a little bend in it just so I can get around the head. Obviously I didn't do the best job, but you know, if you can make it a little better. Problem with pins is they're tempered, so they like to break more than they like to bend. But either way, you can either do it straight or bend it a bit like that, and the head of the pin will hold your head cement just like the well of a quill pen. So it'll hold basically more than a drop of head cement and allow you to put it onto the head slowly in bits, like a quarter of a drop and stuff that you just can't get with a bottle. Gives you a lot more control. It's a lot cleaner, and your head cement lasts longer because you don't dry up half of it, because you can keep your lid on there. So yeah, give that a try. Yeah, you can do the same thing with like the other end of the pin, or like some people will, you know, just use a bodkin and dip it in. But if you do that, you're, I wonder if I have a, do I have a bodkin here that's been dipped a lot? Anyway, I'm sure we've all seen it. People that use the bodkins, like even if you're wiping it off or you have a spot on your station where you can clean it, you end up with, you know, goobers all over your bodkin, even if you're trying to keep it clean, and it'll start rubbing and sticking to material and just be a pain. So if you do the other end, the sharp end of the pin, into the into your head cement, basically the opposite way around to the pin, you can kind of run into that problem. You'll only be able to basically put a drop on. You won't have as much control. So the head of the pin with that hole in it will actually give you a lot more control over the amount of head cement that you're putting on. Very finite detail, and it really doesn't matter, but it can be really handy if you're tying small flies, like especially if you're getting down to like 18s and 20s. Because a full drop on a fly that size is going to be huge, almost the size of your whole head. So it's handy that way you can get rid of some and just do like half a drop or quarter drop, which is a lot harder to do with other stuff. I'm assuming you could do the same thing with a UV resin, just putting it into a bottle. UV resin's a bit thicker. There are some thinner UV resins you could probably do that with, like bone dry, that kind of thing. Excuse me. I'm just giving this a minute to tack up on the head there. Yeah, if you use a bodkin, it'll get all nasty, even if you're trying your best to keep it clean. Yeah, and toothpicks, like anything like that, you can, you can toss. I used toothpicks for a good long time, actually. Just the little brown wooden ones. Nice thing about that is you can just toss it, but you pretty much have to because it's going to get nasty. But yeah, maybe down, I don't know, not quite a quarter of a bottle, so a couple hundred flies probably. And like it's still, other than my horrible bending job, it still looks like a needle. So one little tip, just keep your station working. Yeah, that's another way to do it that he brought up there. You can just apply it directly to the thread. And that's another way to get that half a drop in a location that you need to get it, because you're spreading out one drop over a larger space on the thread. That's another thing, if you are going to go that route, Dave, with practicing with dry flies, because that can help you stopping you getting the varnish into your hackle if you're putting it on the thread. That's another thing to practice, because it does take a little bit to get used to not getting that all over your whip finish or your fingers or whatever you're using to whip finish. After you do a couple dozen, though, you'll probably be fine. But it is a little skill you gotta learn. Yeah, it's starting to color up there, so I think we're good. There's all its brothers and sisters. I went a little bit sparse on this one on the end. Decided to go a little thicker with the wing casings after, but I think I'm pretty happy with the last one we did. Whenever I do up like a good dozen or something like that, it's always a battle between consistency and playing with different options and having fun with, oh, make it a little thicker, make it a little longer. Yeah, once you find a little part of the pattern you like, and just continue with it. I normally bring it up, so if you're dropping your line, you're just behind where the barb would be. I do fish barbless, but I always leave the barbs on, just in case they end up going to someone who wants the barb on the fly. But yeah, just behind the barb, and I'll back it up 3 or 4 wraps, so you're about in the middle of the barb and the point. That'll just give you a more sturdy tie-in place for your tail. It also helps because there is a little bit more of a ledge or a bump there now. Stops the tail from twisting and pointing down. You see a lot of new tires, their tail will be pushed almost over the bend. Not necessary, but it just helps you keep everything together. Where did my deer hair go? There we are. This thing is shedding like no one's business. Kind of glad I found a pattern I can use this roe deer hair with, because it's neat stuff, but doesn't spin at all. It's very dense. Almost like a cross between deer hair and rabbit fur, really. It really is. Even the hide looks more like a rabbit. There's only a couple places in the world you can get it from. You can get it from here in BC on the island by Naramata. They have quite a few of them there. And then, is it UK? I can't remember if it was UK or if it's in New Zealand. Is the other place. It's a bit thinner and longer than I want it, so I'm going to stack this one. Come on, behave. If you don't have one of these, I paid 10 cents for one, but if you don't have one of these, you can make them out of pop can. My first one was made out of an old Mountain Dew can, and I used it for years until I dropped it and stepped on it by accident. They're very strong. But yeah, if you just cut the back end of a Pepsi or pop can, you can make your own stacker like that. Or they're really inexpensive online if you want to go and do the Alibaba or Temu thing. You can find them there for under $1. Good thing to have. It's definitely an older tool for sure, but still has its place. I thought I measured that, but that looks longer than it should be. 1 second. Did I not measure that? Alright, well, guess I was right. Scotland, thank you. I knew it was either UK or one of those areas. Looks like they filmed Lord of the Rings in. Yes, Scotland, thank you. Any tips on lessening rollover when tying in bucktail? Yeah, I was actually doing a similar technique with this, tying in this tail. I don't really want to untie it because I do have it kind of just where I want it, but just for you, David, we'll redo this tail so I can show you. Okay, so let's just pretend we're tying this in at the top of the fly. So if we were doing like a, you know, like we're going to do earlier with the top. I'm just going to tie it in at the back as a tail. It's the exact same thing. Then you want to get the size you want. And then when you're tying it in, the first, especially when you're tying in bucktail, you're generally using a thicker thread like this 8/0. For your flies, you're going to be using much thicker. You want to do a soft wrap, so I'm bringing the thread up, and you can't see it there, but I got it pinched so the thread is completely limp. You see there? I got it pinched between my thumb and my other finger, just like you'd be doing a quill wing. Then you bring it down in between your other finger, and then you're going to be pulling either straight down or up, depending on what room you got. And that'll catch it on top of the fly. Of course, as I say that, I muck that one up. Basically, you're doing a soft wrap. So now we got only one wrap holding that on. And this one's not behaving like I wanted it to. It's going a little bit more on my side of the fly, as you can see there, than the top. But the part that we're worried about is going to be anything from the tie point back. What the other stuff in the front is doing is not as important as long as it's not directionally pulling the back part or the part you're going to be keeping. So we got only one wrap of thread holding that on there. Now when we're finishing that off, we're going to generally want to do 2 to 3 wraps back to set it and hold it in. Most of the time with, well, depending on how much deer hair you're throwing in. If you're doing streamers or something, you might need a little more than that, but 3 to 4. And what you want to do is you want to grab the clump that you're going to be tying in, and you want to hold it at almost like a 45-degree angle to your tie-in point at the shank and up, so it's off the shank. And then as you're tying those wraps back, what that's going to do is it's going to cause the wraps to wrap on the thread or onto the fur and then slide down the fur to your tie-in point every time. So each of your thread wraps are just one after the other as you're tying them in, and that'll help to keep it from twisting, and it'll help to keep it from poofing too much, and that'll give you a little bit more thread control, because of course the more tension you put on it, the poofier your deer hair is going to be. But yeah, just holding it up. So I'm basically pinching. Oh, I let my tension go there. 1 second, let's redo this. I played with it a bit much now, and it's getting a little cattywampus on me. The other tip that I'm having to do now, because I've been playing with this a little too much and it's kind of falling apart on me, is before you put it in, you do want to minimize the amount that you're transferring your material from hand to hand, because it can cause problems like what I'm getting. But as you're moving it back and forth, because you are going to have to transfer it from when you cut it off the hide, you know, to your fingers, and if you get all those directions right, so you have to transfer less, you'll have less of this problem. But as you are transferring it, if you pack it from one side, like I just packed it this way, twisted, packing it again this way, almost like well, you probably don't have a lot of experience with this, but packing a snowball. I know you're in Hawaii, but you can think about it like packing a snowball or packing sand. If you're doing that one direction then the other, what you're doing is you're creating almost a tube, and you're helping all those fibers to push together, just like you would packing a snowball, and that'll give you a lot better tie-in point. Otherwise, if you're just doing one direction, what you're doing is you're flattening it out, so it's almost more like a paper or a book, right? But you want to try and keep it more tube-shaped, and that'll help all the fibers to nest together and stop them from getting all wonky on you and go in all directions. Okay, so yeah, just one single wrap, or almost more of a half wrap there. So I still need to finish this. There you go. Yeah, so one single wrap, and it's going to be right on top of the hook. You can probably see it better on that angle, where there's no fur below, and it's not walking left or it's not walking right. So if you can get that first one like that, and just practice that over and over, you'll feel it in your fingers and your thread tension, you know, after you do a couple dozen or so. You'll know how much thread tension to put on before. Like if I did that last wrap and I just reefed on this bobbin down to try and tighten it up too much, yeah, it's gonna spin. So it really depends on your deer hair you're using, how soft it is. Sorry, let's get back to the thing I was trying to show you. If you're holding it up on a bit of a 45 when you're tying the last couple lashes in, it'll cause your thread to roll back to your tying point, and you'll get a nice tight. I'm gonna hold it back so hopefully you can see it a little bit here. So they should lay almost right next to each other, and then you want to go back again. And since you're holding this up on a 45 when you're tying it in like that, it'll stop it from, even though it'll want to twist, it'll help to stop it from doing that twist. It'll keep it straight. Hope that makes sense, mate. Play with it. But yeah, you do the exact same thing up front here if you're doing a wing. You just have a lot more material than I got in that tail. Sorry, really yabbering there, got way behind on my fly. Hopefully that was useful for you. It's really a feel thing. Like, just play with it. Do it and expect to make some mistakes. Expect to have it spin, and actually try to. I know it sounds dumb, but try to wreck it. You know, try to put more tension than you need to get it to spin, and you'll feel that point where you've gotten too much tension on the thread. And every deer hair is going to be different. Every thread you use is going to be different. So when you're practicing that, use the same thread, use the same hair, and even the same hair from the same part of, like if you're using a tail, like a bucktail, the fibers in the middle of your bucktail are your choice ones. The ones on the very top tip of the tail are going to be a lot more dense, and they're not going to flare as much. So if you're taking some cuts from the top and some cuts from the bottom and some cuts from the middle, as you're practicing flaring your deer hair, you're going to get different results, and it's just going to confuse you. So try to get it from the same spot. Yeah, and just play with it and overdo it, over tighten it, have it spin. And then the more you do that, you'll feel where that point is, because you want to get it as tight as you can without it spinning. You want to get the little happy medium spot. I think I got enough here to... There's nothing I can really tell you to make that easier. It's really just a sit down with a... Just use some junky deer hair if you got some that is not so great. And yeah, just tie like dozens of tops on a nice sturdy hook and use some nice sturdy thread so you can just play with it. One second, I'm gonna recut that. So a little damage section on this part of the, you can see there's a little damage section, but we're not gonna get that far down. I just don't want to have it flare on me. There we go. I like this, like the color of this. I don't know if it's showing up, like it just has such a nice iridescent kind of auburn. It reminds me of like the old school A&W root beer. One other tip for you if you're doing a lot of deer hair tails and underwings and such, when you're tying something back like this rib, you want to give yourself a little bit of leeway to your tie-in point, like at least 2 thread wraps. If you get it too close to that tail and you're binding it down, your tail is gonna, you know, depending on if you're over binding or under binding, it's gonna start moving on you. So just give yourself a little more leeway with deer hair compared to if you were using, say, Hackle for an Adams. Where did my Huh. I thought I already cut some of this. Didn't I? Thought I cut some of this already, didn't I? I guess if I did, it walked away on me, so we're gonna cut some more. Oh, never mind. There's my piece right there. Is that gonna be long enough? Yeah, I think we'll make it work. Okay, I'm gonna actually tie this. Normally I'd tie this right across the whole body, but we're just gonna tie it in back here because I'm not 100% confident that I'm gonna have enough if I tie the whole body length. And I will just try to bind it in there so we don't end up with a lump by the butt. Good? Yeah, that'll work. Hey Wayne, thanks for dropping in, mate. Well, that one almost got away on me. There we go. Again, just doing 2 half hitches so I can use a rotary. I can't get it on camera because I specifically have my bobbin holder, which is over here, outside of the camera, just so obviously for filming. But I made myself a new bobbin holder and I'm loving it, and I made it out of an old coat hanger. I wonder if I can actually swing it. Maybe a little bit. There we go. Totally out of focus, but you get the idea. Made out of an old coat hanger and an old USB cable, which gives me these perfect little places to set my bobbin and set my thread. And it's working out so well for me. I'm happy with it. Just old coat hanger for the win. Yeah, I set up my little stream avatars there. That's actually more for... You can get all sorts of different animals. I got to set them up and do some more coding with it. But I want to do a bunch of giveaways, and I'm going to use that as my way to do the giveaways, because I can do battle royales and different things with all the little avatars down there, instead of just doing the regular spinning wheel website kind of thing, or using Nightbot, or all the other ways that people are doing their giveaways. I thought I'd do little avatars and have them battle. And then we can use that as a way to determine winners for free flies and what have you. I was just telling David about putting too much pressure on the backside there, and then I end up doing that. I think we're good now. Not gonna fall. No, there we go. But yeah, they're cute. I like them. It totally fits my animal coyote theme, which makes me happy. And people seem to like them, so they're gonna stay. Okay, so again, we're all the way up top. Just gonna do a couple wraps, spaced out to about third. And I'm gonna wrap back. We gonna make it? Yeah, look at that, just like perfect. So good thing I didn't tie that in all the way there, or I wouldn't have made it. But yeah, I went online to try and find a replacement because when I bought the bobbin, or when I got this Dynaking vise, it didn't come with a bobbin holder, or cradle, or whatever you want to call it. A cradle and bobbin holder are actually two separate things, but either way, it didn't come with one. And I asked the owner if he had one, and he's like, yeah, sure, somewhere, but I have no idea where it is, so I didn't get it. And I had to make myself one, and I just used an old coat hanger, and it's working great. I'm loving it. Much better than spending, I think, the $68 they wanted for it, American online. I'm sure theirs is prettier. Okay, and we're just going to cord this up. Oh, I did take that out of my holder a little too soon there. There we go. We're just going to cord this up by twisting it. Just a bit. I found if I wasn't cording it, it was flattening out a little bit on me. Beauty. I'm not a huge proponent in like you need a rotary vise at all. Just I spent so many years tying on a stationary vise. But one thing that a rotary vise definitely does help with is getting more consistent tinsel wraps and thread wraps and stuff for your segmentation. It's a game changer that way, especially if you're doing a lot of them. Oh yeah, the Battle Royale is going to be definitely to the death. I can run one if you want to see. Okay, so we got a boss will spawn here. You guys can fight him while I'm finishing up this fly. You can choose your class and the type of character you want. So like ranger, mage, warrior. You actually get different attacks and stuff, which I haven't finished setting up yet. This isn't the battle royale. It's just you guys fighting a boss for fun. So we're just gonna do the white underwing now. Yeah, I still like to hand wrap a lot of things. For whatever reason, I like you said, it feels like the rotary vise should work better than it does with some materials, and maybe it's just my lack of experience with it. But yeah, with certain materials, I like to wrap them by hand because it just seems to work better. And that's probably more on me than anything, but yeah, I feel you 100%. There's certain things that I don't like to wrap rotary. And I'm assuming I don't wrap too much for rabbit zonkers on here, but I'm trying to think if I do wrap those manual or rotary. I think I would wrap that manual. If you want some good tips on like actual rotary tying, what's his name of his channel now? It's the Beaties anyway. He's an older gentleman and his wife, and they both tie. Highly recommend they do live streams, I think once a week. But they also have a lot of back catalog, and he was a production tyer for years when the rotary vices were coming out. And he's worked with a lot of the kind of top vice manufacturers and Orvis and all that stuff. Anyway, he has some excellent videos about how to basically properly use, or not, there's no real proper way to use, but how to be extremely efficient when using a rotary vise and tying. So would highly recommend watching some of his older videos. He has a whole master class on it. And yeah, some of his techniques were just completely eye-opening for me. I was like, whoa, I've been doing that different for years, and that's so much better. So yeah, highly recommend checking out his stuff. I wish I could remember the name of his channel, but it's the Beaties. They've been around forever. They have lots. He has a lot of videos. I think he's almost like yeah, okay, that's pretty centered. Happy with that. He's got gobs of videos. I think he's got to be close to 1,000 or something videos on there. But yeah, the old, he's been involved with it since the beginning. When rotary vices, the first production rotary vices used to be made out of Singer sewing machine treadle bases, like the sewing machine treadle base, and you'd use the treadle to actually spin your vise so your hands were free. And I think that's such a cool concept. I don't think they exist anymore, but he does in his videos. He has a few of them that he shows off. So Oh, my boss battle seemed to have died. I apologize. You can also jump and catch that star too. Is another game that shows up on there. You just type in exclamation sign jump and see if you can time it right to get your character up there and catch the star. But yeah, I highly recommend looking up their channel. Some of his historical, I find it fascinating anyway. If you're interested in the history of that kind of production tying, um, they are the go-to source for that for sure. And they're just good people. And I'm pretty sure he's getting close to retirement and winding things down, so it's always good to grab that knowledge while it's still there. That's nice. I like how that fell on top of the white there. That turned out good. Happy with that. Crowding my head a little more on this one than I would have liked, but it'll turn out fine. Getting distracted with my storytelling a little more than I should be. All good though, as long as you guys are enjoying. That last wrap rolled it just a hair on me there. I like the way this side looks better. But I don't necessarily want to... Yeah, let's undo it. See if I can do that a little better. I'm probably nitpicking it a bit here, but... No, that's where it wants to sit. I'm not going to bother fighting it. It'll be fine like that. Yeah, stop picking at it. I'm making it worse. Let's see here. Yeah, I'll use this one. It's a little bigger than the last one, but we'll make it work. Just clean off the rachis. Clean off a little more. There's some damage there. There we go. There. Yeah. I feel like I'm off by like 1/2 millimeter. Crowding that head, but we'll make it work. We're going to try the old standard hackle pliers here again, see if I can make them work for me. Lost thread tension there, not sure if I lost a wrap or not, so we're just going to do an extra. Fingers are getting a little tired. Oh, again. Why are you popping off like that? Again, I think I got it, but second guessing myself now. I'm leaving that hackle plier on there till I get a 1/2 inch or 2. I'm not sure why that thread's bouncing off like that. Alright, good enough. Alright, I'm happy with that. Yeah, that turned out okay. I'd like to have a bigger, like I said, I crowded the head. I mean, like, I'd like to have a bigger head here, a visible head for it. I'm happy with that one. I'm not sure why that top spun on me like that, but it did. The more I play with it, the worse it's getting. Well, slightly better. That would be another actual benefit of a rotary vise is the more you rotate your fly, you get to see both sides. Because I like the look of this side. Well, the white's puffing out a little bit much. Some between this side and this side. It definitely rolled on me there. I'm not really sure why, but it did. That's okay. It'll still fish fine. Let's get some head cement on there. It's its own special fly. It's just a little bit different than the others. It's trying real hard. Yeah, he was. Fish don't care. Now the other one's fine. I swear I had that tied in well enough before it rotated there. I'm not sure. And I was all like giving David tips on rotation and stuff, and then of course it has to go rotate on me. That's the way of things, right? Let's see if we can get you back in the vise proper without knocking you off. Alright, that's a little better. Yeah, overall I'm happy. The butt end there is a little bit thicker than I'd like just because I had to move the yellow down and not tie it in across the whole body, so you can see there's just a slight variation on the butt thickness compared to the middle of the body. But yeah, nothing crazy. I knew that was going to happen, but I'd rather use up that piece than toss it. And like he was says, fish don't care. They really don't. After 2 or 3 fish, this fly is going to be all beat up and ugly and probably work better anyway. Hey, Glacier Shark. Oh, I'm going to have to send you a few of these, man. You've been putting in the work, mate. Holy man. I've been enjoying your live streams. I'm learning so much about the commercial fishing side of things that I didn't know about. It's been really entertaining watching your streams. I'm not sure what you got left over for commercial fishing time. What you got? Salmon's probably getting close to done. But yeah, I've been learning a lot. That whole side of thing is pretty mysterious to me. Just because we do river fishing and lake fishing, that kind of thing up here. We don't have much for boats. But it's cool. Glad you dropped in before I finished up here, though. I just wanted to thank you for the streams, because it's a lot of work to film and do anything, and especially when you have a hard, dangerous job like you're doing out in the ocean there, man. I appreciate the effort you put in for the live streams. I know it must be exhausting by the end of the day. Well, there you go. That's my point. Is I wish I knew more about what you do than I do, and I'm learning watching your stuff, and it's great. I appreciate that. My grandfather, my dad's dad, loved ocean fishing. Made his own boat, kind of like yours, and that was his thing. He just loved it. But I never got to go out with him on the ocean on it. I wish I did, but didn't get there. But yeah, learning through your channel, man, and you're totally putting the work in. I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Keep it up. Okay, cool. I'm just wrapping up now, man. So I'll see you on there. I'm gonna be doing some gaming with my wife today. We got some expansions that came out that we're gonna crank through. I'm not throwing my gaming on my channel anymore. I might actually start a second channel for my gaming, because it was just wreaking havoc with the algorithm, which is too bad. I really wish I could post whatever I want on my channel, but yeah, it was just absolutely tanking my view counts horribly, so can't do that anymore, unfortunately. Well, thanks for hanging out, everyone. I appreciate it. Thanks, Ewas. Thanks, Glacier Shark. Be safe out there today. WA Fishing. David, if you're still there. Wayne. Thanks, guys. You guys have a good day. Thanks kindly.